Hey everybody, welcome back to another JBoz gaming video. This is your host JBoz, and today we're going to be talking about a map called Lakeville. This is actually a map that has been reintroduced in World of Tanks console, and I think people are trying to learn how to play this map. Maybe have forgotten how to play this map if you're an older player, and that's okay. Since this map had been introduced a long time ago and was around for quite some time, Lakeville, there's a lot of players that do know how to play this map. But for those new players out there that are learning the map, or maybe some older players that didn't have a lot of experience on the map, just relearning how to play it, this video is more for you. So let's get into it. Let's look at Lakeville. All right, basically Lakeville is a fairly straightforward and simple map to learn how to play. Um, but let's start with the types of battles that we'll have on Lakeville. There's basically kind of three types. There's the standard battle where each team has an opposing flag. So in this case, I'm just going to kind of draw where those uh, flags would be, the cap, the base cap, if you will. And then we can talk about strategy a little bit later. So the green, the friendly, if you will be on the south side of the map. So basically, in a standard battle, the flags will be opposed to one another from this mountain, the central mountain range. So it doesn't matter which side you start on, but the opposite flag will be on the opposite side of the mountain. Just know that, and the opposite side of the map. There are three ways to traverse this map. There's the what I call the mountain valley side, which is right here, and I'll kind of use, if you will, a brush to draw from the green side their particular routes of attack. So you have this side that you can run down the mountain valley, right, over to the red cap. You have coming from the cap or your spawn area, you've got this little road that runs right in the middle of the map that you can traverse to the cap. And then you also have the ability to go through the city. Now, there's multiple ways through the city. There's the front side of the city, and that's the most direct and quickest way to the opposing team's cap. And then there's also going through the city, and there's different avenues to do this, but for now I've taken kind of the main road. And then there's also, if you will, this kind of back way through the back side of the city that some people may choose to take, and that is the longest way to the opposing team's cap. All right, and the red team, same thing, just reverse, right? They can come through the mountain valley. They can come down the little tiny road in the middle of the map to the green cap. They can go in front through the city or on the back side of the city. All right. So with that being said, that's the general approach or attack routes that you can take on Lakeville to the opposing team's cap. However, this does play a little bit differently when we talk about an encounter battle. And I'm before we get to encounter battles, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the routes that I just identified and why you would tend to not use them as attack routes. For example, on this left side, we talked about heading through the mountain valley, right, to the opposing person's cap. The reason you would not generally use this as an attack route is this pass, if you will, is very easily defended by a very few number of tanks, meaning you could probably leave 3 tanks in this area on either side and hold or at least slow any real assault on this side down quite considerably. And so this is not a quick way, even though it's a more direct way to get to the opposing team's cap. This will be defended by a few tanks, and it should be defended by a few tanks. But in general, this is not a route to really attack the other team. To win this route, you would have to send 2-to-1 tank numbers, meaning if they have 3 tanks over here, you have to at least send 6 or more to win this route. So the numbers have to be overwhelming. And of course, you will never know how many defenders they actually have on this route. So it's kind of a risky proposition, if you will, to send a lot of tanks and waste a lot of time here when really this map is won 90% of the time by those teams that actually go to the city, win the city, control the city, and then they have the ability to traverse onto one another's caps from the city. And the reason I say that is, again, yes, there's a middle road, if you will, that it would be quicker to traverse to get to the opposing team's cap. The problem is it is very easily defended, even more easily defended than the mountain valley, because it's even narrower and much easier to pick off people. And once you start killing people, that route even gets even more difficult to traverse. So both the middle and the mountain valley routes to the opposing cap circles are very risky propositions and very difficult and very limited times that you're going to have success doing that. However, the city is the more successful route to go here in that it provides some protection, especially if you're going through the city or on the back side of the city. It provides protection to defenders that might be set up to hold the middle road, but still could shoot anybody traversing in front of the city or coming down the middle road. So what I mean by that is if you put tank destroyers at the end of this road to hold, hold this road basically. If I'm the red team, or if I'm the green team, I've got tank destroyers here and here. Well, I can still shoot down this road, obviously, and I can also shoot at anybody that's in front of the city. So that makes this route more risky than a route through or on the back side of the city. The back side of the city is the safest route, but it is the longest route to obviously each other's cap. Okay, so you want to consider that when you're kind of thinking about your strategy on this map. Is what do I weigh, the speed in which to get there or the safest route in which to get there? And so though there are fast ways to get to the other opposing team's cap, the problem is they are pretty risky and very unsafe approaches. And so that's why the city is so critical. Now, this is the standard mode where we're trying to capture the opposing team's cap. There might be, on occasion, a situation where you're in an encounter battle on Lakeville, and the cap circle is actually in the city, which again only highlights how important the city is. It takes the same amount of time for each team to get there, where they place the cap circle in front of the cathedral. But the difference here is, you don't have to, in this encounter battle, really worry too much about these routes. So really, the majority of the team should be heading to the city during an encounter battle, because now these routes, even though in a standard battle are not that important, become even less important. I'm not saying you might not leave a defender or two back here defending the routes, but you wouldn't attack the opposing team on an encounter battle from either one of these routes, because again, if they leave a defender or two, then your attack's going to be stymied, and now that you've lost the city and you've lost even the ability to affect the encounter battle and get on the cap. So the city is a very important way or part of the strategy of Lakeville. Now, in a team destruction, I would argue that the city is still the way to go, because if you take, and let's say you keep all your team together and you fight as a single force and you send them down the mountain valley, well, again, they only need to have basically half their team protecting this side, or fewer actually, to hold Mountain Pass against your entire team. And you can't even possibly run your entire team. Well, you could sequentially, one at a time, down the mountain road, but that's a recipe for disaster, because again, it's very easy for one or two tanks to hold off your entire team. So in an encounter battle or a team destruction, you would still want to go to the city, because the bulk of ability, if you will, the bulk of your opportunity is going to be to get through the city in order to kill as many tanks as you can. So if you stay together and go to the city, if they have left defenders, and maybe more than they should have on either one of these flanks, now you have numbers. You have numbers on them in the city, and you can have a better chance of winning the city. And so that's what I mean by, this map is pretty straightforward in that, yes, there are three kind of lanes of attack, but really only one matters. And even though I collectively use the city as one lane of attack, there are multiple ways through the city. The safest way is this back road through the city. Now, it is the longest, but it is the safest because it offers the most protection from defenders that the opposing team might set up. So let's say you have tank destroyers set up here on opposing sides, right, trying to hold the four line, the middle road. They can still shoot at the front part of any tanks traversing the front side of the city, and they might even have shots into some tanks sitting in the middle of the city. So this is pretty easy to get shots right into the city, or even protecting coming out of the city. These middle two routes through the city are the least safest, but they're more safe than trying to head down these two routes. So don't discount the city as probably your chosen path for most tanks. So let's talk a little bit about tank types. Light tanks, there might be a light tank that runs up and gets spotting, trying to spot the enemy. They're not going to get a lot of damage, but they're certainly going to be effective in spotting, like, okay, are they headed to the city or did they leave defenders back? So you can get a lot of information for your team as a light tank moving up into these spots on this road. So traversing down this road is not always a bad thing, but just know where you'll need to set up to get spots, and then don't hesitate to retreat very quickly, because once they have defenses in place, then you're vulnerable to obviously being counter-spotted and destroyed. So you want to make sure as a light tank that you use this road for spotting early, but in the later game of the battle or later portion of the battle, you probably don't want to be on this middle road. Now that doesn't mean that occasionally they leave a particular route undefended, maybe the road or even the valley, and a light tank can't traverse up. When they do, they have the opportunity to cap, and that's what I would advise they do if they do win or go through a side that is unprotected, is to cap, to put pressure on any tanks that they've sent to the city, because they probably are heavy at that point into the city. So you want to draw some people back away because you know they might outnumber your forces on your side. So you're trying to pull them away from the actual fight going on in the city by capping. And you could do that on either side, obviously. So tank destroyers on this map are really strong in a sense that they are very good defensive units, and there are good defensive positions on this map to defend the routes. Like I said, there's tank destroyer positions here and here. There's tank destroyer positions here on this hill. There's tank destroyer positions back here, obviously, to protect this. And you'll find tank destroyers kind of tend to go this way. They don't attack, but they're getting in defensive positions. And then defensive positions on the city are there's a hill here that tank destroyers will use to shoot into the city and still protect the middle. And of course, tank destroyers can set up also back here to help protect the middle and also fight or protect anybody coming out of the city, or shoot into the city if they have line of sight. So that's lights and tank destroyers. Mediums, similar to lights, you can use the road to get some spotting, but in general, you're going to want to mainly go to the city and use your mobility in the city to fight around the large city structures that are there. Heavies, if you're going to play defensively, you would tend to go to the valley and position, just right here. There's a major kind of hill here between the mountains, and it kind of traverses up and comes back down this way. Kind of goes this way. So heavies can really, especially if you have good gun depression and fight on a hillside, you'll be successful in holding these positions. And so the red team or the enemy team can put their heavies here. The green team can put their heavies here, and you would have a kind of a stalemate, if you will, of who's going to win this side. But in general, heavies on this map can also go to the city to help win the city. It's a better cover, if you will, against artillery. Artillery usually set up back here in the corner on this map for the red team, and then on the green team they might sit here or here, a little more angled, right? But either way, they're going to have angle. They're going to have almost direct fire down Mountain Valley, which doesn't make it a good spot to traverse. And then they will also try to position so that they have the ability to hit through line of sight into the city center, especially if there's a cap circle there, like it's in counter battle or whatever. But you'll find the artillery mostly in the back corners of this map. Generally, artillery don't really position up and over to this side of the map very often. So that's tank destroyers, light tanks, mediums, heavies, and artillery. That's pretty much it for Lakeville. I mean, in a nutshell, it's about the city. Win the city, you win the map most of the time. So, yeah. I hope this was helpful. If it was, hit the like button. If you like what we're doing here, please consider subscribing by hitting the subscribe button. And if you want to get notified that we're uploading a video, just hit the bell button, or ring the bell, as they say. And we hope we'll see you on the battlefield, and you will see you next time. Take care.